MagicMan, you're up, my friend. You're on mute, but you're up.
Hey
There he is.
everyone, we're back for the Lakers fast break. Watch post game here on YouTube. I'm your host, Magic Man, aka Sean Grice. Gerald Glassford is with me live from a motel or a hotel or a nice Sheraton near Burbank, in Burbank, near Burbank.
Burbank, yes. The
Yes, all
Hotel
right.
Burbank, to give everybody a
Okay,
little.
thank you very much, Gerald. Hopefully, you have the nice amenities that.
Yes, I try. I try.
All right. We also have Zangerstein with us. Z, welcome into the post game show, and we also have the infamous John Costa from Lakers Corner. And
Infamous. I like that.
mm, absolutely. Uh, welcome in everybody. Lakers win 133-112. I was hoping it was going to be a 25-point victory, but they had to give up a couple of slushy threes there at the end that really weren't guarding against. That being said, Lakers took care of business. After a sluggish start, it was 58-57 Lakers at half, and they just stormed out of the gates in that third quarter. Ladies and gents, it was a 41-23 third quarter. Lakers didn't look back. LeBron and AD left the game at around the 6:37, 6:40 mark, guys, of the third quarter. Didn't re-enter, didn't need to. Great win overall. And Gerald, I'm going to go to you first. How did you feel about the win tonight?
Well, kind of shaky in that first half. We only led by one coming into halftime, but the Lakers, you got to give them credit for today. They did what they needed to do against a very, very bad team in Charlotte, and they got it done in that third quarter. And it was mostly the reserves that did it, led by Austin Reeves. I know a lot of people are clamoring for him to go ahead and get back into the starting lineup. I think better. I think he's better where he's at. I think he's better as a six man coming off the bench. I think it's really suited to his taste. Plus, also as well, he just is not as much of a liability playing against the second team units like that. As far as his defense is concerned, really gets a chance to go ahead and flourish a little bit more coming off the bench. Gets 16 for you tonight. D'Angelo Russell, for once, started to playing, and the first time in a long time, has played really well coming off the bench tonight. Also had 16 plus 18, and Max Christie showed up after weeks of trying to figure out what's going on with that kid. Finally got some run, got 10 points tonight. Actually got a couple blocks early on, looked pretty good. Yeah, so the team, like I said, coming off the bench, they did what they needed to do. They let LeBron and AD halfway through the third quarter sit and basically did not need them again. And when for a team that's now 17-15, still has a ways to go up in the Western Conference, this is exactly what they need to do tonight. Because the fact is, you've got, of course, this weekend, you got Minnesota and New Orleans, and that's going to be a bigger test than what they saw tonight.
100% agreed. Thank you very much, Gerald. And also joining us is Z, our great friend Zangerstein, great panelist, great commentator during playback. And please join us on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break in the future. Z, what was most important about tonight was that pregame, we discussed the fact that if the Lakers were going to be a balanced team, it would require, Rui coming into the starting lineup. Now, Rui, AD, and LeBron had a really great third quarter. Bit of a shaky first quarter, but that third quarter was really impressive. What did you like about the change in the lineup, and as you said, what made for more balance?
Okay, so my first take was during the first quarter, they're on drop. It's a drop coverage, and it doesn't fit that lineup because Rui is a slow defender. So he cannot hedge, he cannot help AD on that lineup. But they changed that on the third quarter. They switch more, which is on Rui's strengths. That's what we talked about earlier, right? That Rui is fit to switch on that lineup. And Vando and I think Vando and Prince has the chemistry because Vando is taking a lot of, is hedging a lot, he's helping a lot of his teammates. So that's what I saw. They changed that and it worked because those three. It's kind of funny because those three, Rui, AD, and LeBron, has the highest efficiency in any of the Lakers lineup since last season. They work together pretty well since last season. So it's hard to imagine why is Ham not using them more together with D'Lo and Austin, because that's everything that we wanted. We wanted the players that the Lakers paid to play together. It it just doesn't make sense that they're not. And I'm not saying that they all should be starting. I'm just saying that they should play more within the game. And the second one that I saw was during the first quarter, the reason why the Hornets were shooting a lot because the defense that Ham wants, that drop coverage, where they are leaving a lot of three-pointers, it has been scouted. Everyone knows it. So if everyone knows it, then the coach of the opponent will tell his team that, oh, your shots are going to be here, right? Because they're leaving this, shoot this with confidence, and it's going to go in. That's a simple concept. But on the third quarter, they changed that because they're switching more. So they're not leaving the three-point shooters anymore. And the second one is they did not play. I think they did not play the Prince, D'Lo, and Austin lineup. They went to what worked on the first quarter, which is Austin, D'Lo, and Max. Those trio worked on the second unit with Rui. I think because Rui is a big player, he fits with Wood. The 5-out concept fits well with Wood, Rui, Austin, D'Lo, and Max because all 5 can shoot threes. So everyone can shoot, and that worked. And that's everything that we wanted. We wanted a combination of defense and offense within the lineups and without compromising D'Lo and Austin. You need that defender, which is in this time Max, to help them. That's why they work. And it's kind of funny because D'Lo and Austin has worked since last season. The only lineup that is a negative with 2 of them is with Prince. That's the only trio that doesn't work, and it hasn't. So I think Ham should stop that. That's all.
Great points there, Z. And just to illustrate what you said, a starting lineup that went 18-7 last year to end the year, went 8-4 through 2 rounds of the playoffs, and then basically 2 games. It has played exactly 1 minute together this year. That's D'Lo, Austin, Rui, AD, and Vando and LeBron. So it just goes to illustrate that, again, what Coach Darvin Ham talked about last year, that he wanted to emphasize and reiterate over and over again, was that he really wanted to find a starting 5 that could gel together and play for a while. But old habits die hard, and I welcome in John Costa here. And John, he went with another starting 5 again. I mean, this time it was more out of necessity because Cam was hurt. But what do you make of this starting 5? And do you agree with Z that it was provided more balance? And did you see anything else, any other wrinkles that some Laker fans might have missed tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do think that at the end of the day, this lineup it was just something that we had to do because of injuries, because of players available. But we actually talked about this on the last stream, right? Where we're running these lineups of where LeBron is the point guard, LeBron is the initiator, and we love it. It's great, but the only thing that we talked about then is sustainability. How long are we going to be able to do this? As we should not be looking to beat the Hornets on December 28th. We should be looking down the line so that we're ready. We'll take the win against the Hornets. We'll take it. We're happy with it, but we're looking at how can we have our players ready come down the line, come playoffs, and for that, I don't think the solution to that will be giving LeBron heavy minutes at the one. I love it's great. We saw the LeBron and AD pick and roll was working to perfection and all that. But what I saw, what I kind of want to touch on in this game is I know Gerald, he was talking about how, the first half wasn't too great. Lakers led by 1 coming into the half, but then coming into the fourth, we led by 19 points though. So that was a huge turnaround to us because that great third quarter we had scoring 41 points. Credit to the defense, but to me, overall, the biggest story of this game had to be credit to our bench. And 63 points off the bench tonight. That's one thing that Lakers Nation, we know that we've struggled with, getting bench production, getting production from the other guys. Tonight came up big. We had D'Lo and AR 16 points. Had Maxey, he got on the phone with 10. Hayes had 10. Wood only had 9 points, but if you were watching the game, it felt like those 9 points took us a long way. Only missed 1 shot all game long, and I mean, ultimately, to me, I really hope that this wakes up Darvin Ham and makes him realize that, when Wood plays, we can get some valuable minutes here, man. So that's my biggest takeaway from this game is I love the win. I'm happy with the lineup. Just don't want to put too much strain on LeBron at that one, which is great that tonight him and AD were able to rest for the entire fourth quarter, but Ham needs to wake up and realize that Wood needs some minutes out there. I know sometimes he goes to Hayes, but Wood definitely needs some minutes.
100% agree. Thanks a lot for commentary initially here, John. We'll get back to you. And we also have a packed house. Joe Soro is joining us. And Joe, just to piggyback off what John was saying there, 63 points from the bench. So that's a season high. They previously did have a season high with Rui, Austin, and D'Lo off the bench before. What do you like about this game? And second question is, would you continue with this starting 5 on Saturday in Minnesota?
I don't know if I can judge anything off this game. To answer your first question, I like the fact that LeBron and AD didn't play a lot of minutes. I believe they were 25 and 26. I'd say that's probably the biggest benefit in this game. They essentially played a half a game, and that was it. LeBron might have looked lethargic at the beginning of the game, but I think that has more to do with the fact that he was probably just kind of gauging the game a little bit. He did step it up in the second half when he felt he, probably wanted to get going from there.
Okay.
And then of course we ended up making a run there in the third and pretty much closing out the game really early. That's all I was looking for in this game. Honestly, I can't dictate or judge Darvin Ham's adjustments or whether Max Christie played a good game or whether Christian Wood played a good game. I just the Charlotte Hornets actually to me might be worse than the Detroit Pistons in a lot of ways. I just can't.
That must be saying something, Joe.
Again, it's debatable. You have a point for either or, but Charlotte's just not a good team. And at this point, the Lakers are going to, as far as Darvin Ham being stubborn and things like that, this is not something new. This is not something that usually is either bad or good. I mean, look at Greg Popovich in San Antonio. You want to talk about stubborn. I think noise needs to come out at San Antonio that Popovich might be overrunning his time, And that happens a lot with coaches. Their egos are just as big as players. A lot of these guys, obviously, I know Greg Popovich didn't play in the NBA, but the majority of the coaching staffs and obviously the head coaches in the NBA are former players, and some of them are good players too. They're not too terrible. So that ego goes with them as a coach, and if they're not going to adapt to what they have to adapt to, then that's where that stubbornness comes in. And it's like Chuck Noll used to say, the great Steelers head coach, stubbornness is a virtue until you're wrong. And it's just, most impressive part about the Lakers the last 3 weeks has been Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has been playing the way Anthony Davis is supposed to be playing. And I'm going to be looking at that more than anything here the next 3 months, because if he continues to play like this and he ends up playing more than 75 games during the year.
And Joe, you'll be pleased to note that the statisticians do not credit him with 3 blocks. He was credited with
I've already gotten used to that. Yeah, I've already gotten used to that. I literally saw him have 3 blocks in the first quarter a few weeks back, and he only had 1 registered. And this was not a tip by the hip type thing either. This was above the ground. I don't know what the hell the deal is with these statisticians, but apparently they don't like to give Anthony Davis any blocks. But I do like his energy. I do like his feistiness. The fact that he's not falling on the ground every 15 seconds as a benefit. I think that there's a mentality there that I haven't seen really since I don't really know. I don't think I've ever seen him not fall, even when he was playing really well. He just
there's no doubt about it. The 2 guys who the nomenclature with steals and blocks is stocks. I like the moniker BAD, B-A-D, blocks, deflections, and altered shots. So blocks, altered shots, deflections. There's nobody on the bad list higher than AD and Wemby right now. You could put Chet Holmgren in that category as well. Chet's a little bit more point of attack now than those 2 gentlemen are. That being said, Joe, I mean, they don't really use deflections and altered shots as a stat, and it's a poor reflection on where we are within the game, because those are just as significant as the steals or the blocks themselves.
Their perimeter defense is still terrible. If I had to go negative on a few things, allowing Charlotte to continue to hit deep threes, short threes, whatever, they're just not. Their fundamentals are not that good. AD is playing off of natural fundamentals. He's also playing with talent that very few people have ever had in the NBA. LeBron being the exception to the rule in a lot of ways in terms of his quote unquote loafing. I know that there was.
Yeah, Gerald, if somebody could check this for me, I believe this is the first time in about 4 or 5 years that the Lakers have won by 20 and nobody played more than 30 minutes.
I agree with you on that. I think that because even in the blowouts, like for Memphis example, their players been playing over 30 minutes on that one. So
yeah,
I agree with you.
Yeah. Russell played 29 exactly. So 29 on the dot. I think it's been a while since I saw the Lakers just pull the hinges off anybody.
By the way, my friend, I did note that to Coolbro that you, Sean, give the best love advice over Star Wars Theory. Just wanted to let them know that. I let them know in the pregame, so I just want to make sure that you know that, my friend. So Coolbro went to Star Wars Theory for love advice, and he said MagicMan gave him better advice. So I just want to let you know.
Okay, MagicMan.
I got you, Coolbro. I got you. I will never let another soulful brother down when it comes to the opposite sex. Listen to your uncle, MagicMan.
There you go, man.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. As we head back around, Gerald. So one stat that does stand out amongst all of them was that the Lakers were perfect from the free throw line. Even in a game that was as choppy as this to start, and even when they blew the doors off them in the fourth quarter, it just felt like they didn't lose their focus, like collectively.
Yes, which
And-
we've seen before many times here recently. So it was good to see, my friend. It was good to see.
Yes, and combined with the effort from Christian Wood, he was perfect from deep, Gerald. This was probably his best shooting game as a Laker.
Agreed.
Hopefully, it propels him forward for actually.
Well, before him
contributing
and Max
significantly.
Christie, in the chat, they're going off on how they want to see more Wood, they want to see more Max Christie, whatnot. There's reasons why they were DNPs. They both are having terrible seasons. They've both been playing terribly. They both had their issues and been exploited. But they both also can bring things to the table if they just start to play a little bit more consistently. I mean, Max had his run as a starter and he blew it. Christian Wood has had opportunities early in the season and he blew it. But now, with a game like this, they can use that against a really inferior team in Charlotte. You can take that as confidence. I don't know how much you're going to take from it as far as overall, will they be able to play that well against New Orleans and Minnesota? I'm not sure. But again, at least you could have a little bit more confidence. They got some reps. They got some minutes back out there. They got the feeling of the ball going through the net for them. Like you said, with Christian Wood, 3 for 3. I would have actually utilized him a little bit in that Boston game. There was times where I thought that maybe Christian Wood, could have kind of done and that did that same thing for you today that, possibly on Monday, but they chose not to do that. So you just hope that whatever deficiencies they've had in their game, they can try to alleviate somewhat by just contributing better basketball than what they have been doing so far this season. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if Max and also Christian Wood can get more opportunities and play better. And I know people want Austin Reeves now back in the starting lineup because I know Cam was out of lineup today. So if they want Austin Reeves back in the lineup, that's great. But just remember, he's got to go ahead and play a little bit better defensively, or otherwise it's just back to the 6-man role again.
100%, Gerald. And as I head it back up to Z, what stands out to me is that on the Lakers, you have Rui, who is a plus 34 tonight. And you also have 2 Charlotte Hornets, one Miles Bridges, and the other, sad to say, Terry Rozier are both minus 30-plus players as well. I think what Gerald said is partly true. I also think that a lot of Laker fans need to also understand that the personnel that the Lakers were up against tonight, at least from the guard position, were not stout, very athletic, kind of very strong guards. Terry Rozier is, like you said, a little long in the tooth, and he's slower than he used to be. He's not scary Terry anymore. And Miles Bridges, although for all the offensive attributes he brings, is a negative defender. See, I just thought that in this case, in this game, it was a case of knowing your personnel and just hammering them.
Okay.
I think it's a mixed bag. I actually think it's a mixed bag because for what Gerald said, Max and Wood did not play well enough during their time when they were given the opportunity. But at the same time, I think they were misused. I've been saying this, that you should fit what you're doing on the court, and they haven't. Max, Wood and Hayes are 2 switching, hedging bigs, but we all know that Darvin wants drop, and they can't do that, and that's why they were terrible during their time. Then, as for Max, he is not a point of attack defender. He's more of a team defender and a screen navigator. kind of guy. And that's Austin as well. So you need to put them on the position, and the scheme needs to fit these players. Because I think LeBron and AD can do pretty much what they're doing at their position. But as for the other guys, most of them were being misused. For example, Prince wasn't able to hit his shots because he's playing a lot of defense that he has not played in his career. This is the most that Prince has defended in his career. So I think it's more of a mixed bag. And then for the Hornets, they're really bad at defense. They just, I think it was just it's called variance of shots. They made a lot on the first quarter, and then they didn't in the second half. That's how it goes. And for me, that's just it. The players need to be in the position that they were good at for it to work. And today, I think Wood was more paired with AD at some point, I think. So it worked because it's more like switching and hedging instead of him being the lone defender at the center position. And I think that's why he played well in this game.
To just say that there's been a lot of discussion outside of the Lakers regarding certain roles that certain players have had. And John, I'm going to bring you back in here. Rui's talked about how at times he's been frustrated with his role in the sense that he hasn't been really given a defined role, according to him. Austin's talked about how at times, he's confused about his role, whether or not he's out there as a facilitator or is he just strictly off-ball shooting. And D'Lo's talked about that as well. At least in this game, John, if Rui or Austin missed a couple shots, they didn't get a quick hook. At least Ham let him play and let him finish out a run.
Yeah,
do you see maybe that moving in more positive direction? At least him willing to give guys some slack here, because I got to be frank. I think it's true that he didn't give the same flack to Cam and Vando that he gave to Rui and Austin when it came to shot selection. I was wanting to get your thoughts on that, brother.
Yes, brother, that is such a great point. Honestly, I feel like you read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to get into myself is the leash, right? Some players have shorter leashes and some players have way longer leashes, and it's just like this literally starting to look like it's like a nepotism type thing where it's like maybe this is like Darvin Ham's like maybe Darvin Ham's related to Cam and related to Torian Prince or something like that, to where he's given some players longer leashes than others, and D'Lo and AR is one of them, but I want to go back to Gerald's point too, because I feel like another two players are Max Christie and Christian Wood. Now, I'm not too much on a fan of Max Christie just yet. I do think he's a good basketball player, but I don't know if that's exactly what what we need. I don't even know if he's ready really for big time league minutes, but I do think Wood is. I do think Christian Wood is, and I'm not saying let's play Christian Wood like at the five, let's give him big time minutes, but he absolutely deserves to have a longer leash and deserves to not just be getting DMPs, like especially with the lack of backup bigs that we have on this team. Like AD, we know what AD does, but we also know that AD needs his breaks because we don't want him to get he's too fragile or and from what we know him to be, right? So we need true backup bigs. Now, I don't think anybody on this team is a true backup big. The last true backup bigs that we had was in the 2020 team when we had JaVale and AD. But if all we got is Hayes and Wood, there's just no reason that Wood should be getting these DMPs. And it's exactly to your point, Magic Man, of Wood has a shorter leash. AR has a shorter leash. Max has a shorter leash. While Cam, if he messes up, he's going to keep getting some chances.
Yeah, but why is that? Let me interject here, and I apologize for that, John. Why is that? Why do you think that is? It's because those guys you mentioned, AR, his defense has not. That's why he's in the bench in the first place, because of his defense. Why has Christian Wood sat out games or been DNP'd?
I had to enter here, Gerald. Sorry, but why? If it's the defense, then why is it that Ham is playing D'Lo, Austin, and Prince together over and over when it hasn't worked?
And because they're playing against second units, that's why they're coming off the bench, because they both can't play defense well. You've seen the issues that they've had as far as playing perimeter defense when they were starters playing against frontline guards. That's been the problem. That's why they both were put to the bench, is because they've had defensive issues. Why is Cam in there? I'm not the biggest supporter of Cam either, but at least he plays defense and he can guard consistently. The guy can't shoot or score enough to be a consistent starting shooting guard in the league. But the problem is we don't have a player that meets all those requirements, or even most of those requirements as far as on both sides of the ball. That is the problem that we have right now with our entire backcourt. They either can guard but can't shoot, or they can shoot but can't guard. It's just that simple.
So if we're gonna talk about one side of the coin as far as defense, like we have to look at the other side of the coin, which is that lack of offense production that Cam Reddish brings. So it's like
you only got a guy that's 7 points a game or 5 points a game as your starting shooting guard. I said this on the air, on playback, and on this show. That's a problem. That's why they're looking for at the Levines, the Murrays, the whoever, guard that you want to go ahead and say out there, is because they don't have a guard that can be a two-way player for them right now. They just don't. Max is not good enough, and neither is what they have out there right now. And when you talk about, put D'Lo and Austin back into the starting lineup like it's the good old days again, like earlier, well, why were they benched, both of them, in the first place? Why?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You finish.
Well, no, it's just because of their defense. Ultimately, it was because of their defense. Now, obviously, as well, D'Lo was struggling with a shot. Then maybe today will get him the confidence that he needs to go ahead and play better. But I don't want to take too much stock from this game, because, again, it was a team that's only won 7 games this season. We should be beating them by 20.
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely can't take too much stock into this, but
you're on mute, by the way, Magic.
Sorry, Magic. But as far as like us putting all the best defenders out there and getting dang near no offensive production, I just think that's and
the ideal is an ideal mix. Absolutely, but the problem is they've not been able to find it yet. Coach Ham has not been able to find any kind of mix that's worked consistently for them. No lineup that they've thrown out there has met this kind of. I mean, that's why we're 17 and 15.
Absolutely, but one thing I do want to talk about is that leash. I think that leash has a lot to do as to why we haven't been able to find that consistency. MagicMan talk about there's a lot of players, and AR being one of them, that's confused with role, confused with minutes, and because that leash being so short. Like, just because Darvin Ham is a defensive minded coach doesn't mean that we should just only be playing defensive minded players out there. Like, I agree, we should get that mix match of a little bit of defense, a little bit of offense.
I think Joe's right. He's in the chat right now. He says it best. The Lakers do not have enough capable day in and day out players. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Gerald, that's different, though. I'm sorry. I have to say this.
Before you chime in, and Lakers did make history tonight. The Lakers are the first team in NBA history, Gerald, to score 130-plus points, dish out 40-plus assists, make 15-plus threes, and shoot 100% from the line, all in the same game. Now,
if only you could duplicate that for copy.
No, well, I think it was I forget who it was in the playback, but I think it was Allen or Doobie said, "Can we please play Charlotte 3 times a year, like everybody else does in the Eastern Conference, please?" But Z, go right ahead, please. Don't allow me to
But what
let you veer off.
I have to agree with with John, because I was questioning Gerald's point of view here.
Which you always do.
If
But go ahead.
Yeah, I always do. Sometimes
But
I
I'm
agree with
always
you
right
a
at the
lot,
end.
though.
So there you go. As Joe
But
would say.
why, if it's the defense, then why is it that lineup they use 2 games has the worst defensive efficiency
Oh, they were
in
terrible on offense and
every lineup?
defense. Well, if it's not
They
working, then you
were,
change it.
but
But yeah,
that's the
I
thing.
didn't say, I'd never said, but again, he's going to continue
But
to
that's
play
the
that when
thing. It's
Cam
about
comes back because they
balance.
were 1-1. But you also got to
I
remember, why is
I just
Austin
don't
and
think that Ham is a defensive coach. I'm just saying
I'm
that
not going to disagree with you there.
he's not.
Ham's not a good coach. This is something we've all agreed on, is that Darvin Ham is not a good coach for this team.
No, but you said that he's focusing on the defense
I never said
when
that. I've never said that. I said that he's got players playing there that have a focus on defense. I'm saying the reason why that Austin and D'Lo were benched at separate times was a great reason why was because of their perimeter defense. You've got to understand, and you know this, you've talked about this, how many times Austin Reeves was picked on as far as by the other teams. Remember when just last week with the Oklahoma City, when SGA went at him time and time and time again when he was playing against the first unit teams. Same thing with D'Lo, but D'Lo got worse because not only was he not giving the defense, even though he was still giving us playmaking, as John would tell you, his defense was terrible, but his shooting was bad. When his scoring and shooting capabilities are bad, D'Lo is not a frontline starter for you. And if he plays like he did today,
I agree with that.
If he plays like he did today, that makes it better. But the thing is, that's the problem. When you have D'Lo and Austin out there, defensively, they get picked on. It's just that simple.
Agree, but
everyone is getting picked on, though. Everyone is getting picked on. Steph Curry is getting picked on. Trae Young is getting picked on. But at the same time, for example, today Steph was atrocious.
Well, that's why the Golden State Warriors are a 500 team right now. But when Steph wasn't playing better,
you make something out of there, though.
But Klay Thompson
you gotta
was
make
better.
something for it to work, though.
But when Klay Thompson was better, Wiggins was better, they had a better defense. How many championships did they win during that period of time?
And Stephen Curry, let me add that real quick. Stephen Curry, that throughout all them championships, was still getting hunted on defense. But you know what he did have? He had a good coach who was able to put the players and able to
exactly.
Despite what Joe will say, they had a good coach. Yes,
he was able. They had at least a coach that was common sense enough or sane enough to be able to run defensive sets and have players enough to where it's like, yeah, Stephen Curry is going to be a defensive liability out there, but that's why I got Klay Thompson out there. That's why I got all these other players to just play some great help defense. It's like, you know what? You don't need to get stops. You don't need to be this great perimeter defender. I just need you to be able to stay in front of the defender enough, at least to hedge enough to where our good defenders can come and help. And that's where I have the disagreement with you, Gerald, is like, I totally understand about AR and D'Lo having like the shorter leash because of the defensive inefficiencies, but I think that you have to we can't just go completely to the defense and
I didn't but I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with you. I never did. I'm just saying why they're out there. I didn't say I agreed with it. I've never said I agree with it. You asked me why Cam and Vando are out there despite what Z says about the numbers, despite what Jovan Buha puts out there about the numbers, is because
but they got the shorter leash as well too.
They're out there starting because of their defense. I didn't say I agree with it. I just said they're out there on the defense. Please don't misquote me.
Okay,
because you're misquoting me.
Okay, got you. But let me ask you this: good on defense, not that good on offense, and then
they're terrible on offense.
Okay,
absolutely
and
terrible.
then D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves, good on offense or better on offense, and not that good on defense. So both got give and takes. My issue is, and I think what me and Z are saying is, there's just no reason as to why Prince and Cam is getting a longer leash than D'Lo
nobody
and
can
AR.
figure out why Prince got to this point. I mean, Prince found his rhythm finally became, a more consistent outside shooter. But there was that period
But do
of
you know
time
why?
where
Do you know
everybody
why,
wanted.
Gerald? Do you know why Prince actually got his rhythm? Because he's not playing
He
that
played enough
much
minutes.
defense anymore. He's
To
not
be
playing that
fair
much
to
defense
Darvin
anymore
Ham,
because of Vando and Cam.
He was
To
still
be fair-
lining up against the other team's best perimeter
to be
players
fair to Darvin Ham,
on many occasions.
He has made an effort not to play Prince more than 30 minutes a game in the past few days.
And remember his comments about AR saying he didn't want to play him more than 28 minutes a game as well.
Yes,
a lot of people are still trying to figure that one out.
As we focus more and more,
because he gets too tired or something of that nature.
I think this microscopic discussion about minutes, Gerald. If you're gonna play Vando with AD off the floor, you have to put him beside another shooting big. You can't.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, you can't. Like in the regular season, it's one thing to lose those minutes. If you lose those 2 or 3 minutes in the playoffs, it could be the difference between a series being 2-2 and 3-1, and you need to solidify that problem. And maybe it's a backup center, maybe the problem solves itself, but that's one small issue that you need to resolve quickly, because you can't have Vando on the floor without another shooter beside him in the front court.
I'm not disagreeing with you there.
If AD's,
you have to find a happier mix.
Yeah,
you have to find, as a coach, you have to find a happier mix on offense and defense for that starting unit.
And that's Gerald, and that's why you've emphasized that they're going to need Wood eventually, and that's the reason, because you saw when AD was on the bench, Vando looked pretty comfortable with Wood out there because Wood was able to be a space eater and make his shots.
If he shoots 35, 37%, that solves your problem. But when he's struggling at 27% for the season, that's a problem. And the things like you saw and you mentioned with Joe on playback, where PJ Washington took him to school and just drove right around him for an easy basket and won, you guys were commenting, well, there's Christian Wood again. But if he's hitting at least 3-point shots on the other end, some of those concerns in his minutes go away. He's just got to shoot it at an average level or better. That would be
that's it.
To me,
Go ahead,
I'm not even like, if he hits a 3 in today's NBA game, like so many teams are shooting threes, like that's great, but that's not even necessarily what I'm focused on. Like what I'm looking for him to do, I'll be honest, is just pick and pop teams to death. Because what he can do is knock that little mid range down. If you maybe not this year, Christian, because he hasn't got that opportunity. But if you've gotten to see Christian Wood any past years, he has that little pick and pop midi down. And I think that if we can just get him in there with a little bit more consistency, he can knock that down and then be able to stretch that out to the 3-point line. So I mean, like honestly, agreed. The answer is probably not Christian Wood to where we want to get to, which is that 18th banner. But this is what we got right now. So to me, there's just no reason these should continue to get DNPs, and if so, then maybe a mid-season firing is in the works.
Ham needs to find a better mix in the starting lineup, because the starting lineup that he has, I understand he made the change to go because D'Lo's had like several games where he was just absolutely awful from out there, and you were questioning his work ethic, you were questioning his focus. Yeah, we're questioning everything. Sean was saying it. I was saying it. It was pretty apparent. I just want Ham to find a lineup that has a better mix of offense and defense, that's more competitive, that will allow us to be more competitive early on instead of having these terrible starts to each and every game that we seem to be having. Even against tonight, we were down in the first quarter to Charlotte, a team that we should have just blown out the doors right from the get-go.
Yeah, and Gerald, it's kind of that game kind of emphasized what the Lakers are like from the 3-point line, because over the past 10 games we've shot over 42%, man. Mm-hmm. But look at our record in those 10 games. It's 4-6.
There's no right answer.
No, but I mean, there's got to be.
How many attempts though? How many attempts?
Yeah, usually around 32. I think it's right around 32, 33.
It's low. It's low. It's like I think it's less than 350. I think I saw it was like 338 or something. But regardless, even with the problems, they still managed to shoot over 40% the last 10 games, Gerald, but can't make any headway as far as climbing the standings there. And a lot of that
Well, we're
has to
going to
do
see this weekend, though.
we are going to see this weekend because LeBron James will be healthy when they play the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Darvin Ham said he's going to play both of them for both games. Says he doesn't foresee a problem outside of an injury that pops up. So he just said that on Twitter. I mean, that was reported as far as from the after game press conference. So yeah,
this is good. This is good competition, Gerald. Kind of saw it earlier this week with the Northwest beating each other up.
So this is when you have to make your move in the Western Conference. I mean, there's 50 games left now. 32 games in, 50 games left. Have to start getting a little bit more serious about this going forward.
This is kind of the soft, hard part of the schedule where you need to make hay this point in time, just a little bit before the All-Star break. And
the Lakers have, just to let you know, I'm sorry again, my apologies, Magic. They have the majority of their games at home next month. That was reported also. That was a good, I think Trudell, or was it? Yeah, popped that up as far as
it's got a good home record right now. It's what, 11-3, 11-4 now.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a lot of home cooking, like Joe said. Remember, Joe's himself said that they have, was it in February or when they urged to stay in the Pacific time zone for the majority of the month. So yeah, it's again, they just got to get through this tough stretch. We close out the year with a couple good wins. But yeah, I'm not going to argue with either one of you. At this point, you just got to try and see what sticks and see what works, because obviously the starting lineup now, statistics wise, doesn't bear out both offensive, defensively. But again, we threw D'Lo and Austin out there for 20 games, 25 games. That wasn't the answer. You throw out Cam and Vando out there, that isn't the answer. So you're going to have to keep on trying, and if you're the coach, don't be afraid to try new things with this lineup, because it's 17 and 15.
Yeah, don't be afraid to MacGyver this thing.
Don't fall in love with players. Don't fall in love with Torian Prince or fall in love with players.
This isn't a perfect situation.
When they're not playing.
You're not James Bond. You don't have Q in your ear, letting you know where all the secret subs are underneath the pool.
Well, let me just say this.
You're MacGyver, Gerald. You've got a couple rolls of duct tape.
Let me just say,
Swiss Army knife. Yeah.
And I'm just sorry. My apologies, MacGyver. Just kidding. Let me just say this, and then I'll Z and John and you get the majority time rest for the rest of the time. If you're the coach, you should just not fall in love with players when they're not playing well. If they're not playing well, don't be afraid to put in someone else. That's all I ask. If it's Christie is the hot guy after a game like today, play him. If it's Wood, now the hot guy, play him. Don't be afraid to put guys out there that are on a hot streak, that are playing well, because that just builds confidence, and you never know where that can take you. You keep on putting guys out there. When we saw for how many games was Prince struggling out there, and everybody wanted just what is Ham thinking? Why is Ham relying on it? That's the thing. All I'm asking is just put players out there who give you the best chance to win each and every game. Doesn't matter who it is. That's all I ask. You got to, as a coach, you just have to understand that. Just don't be on your set patterns and it's his time to come in. Oh, it's his time to come in. That's what it says on the list. No, whoever's playing the best, put them in. It gives you the best chance to win. That's all I ask. And I'll just
absolutely. And then one thing I'll add to that is throughout my life, when I played basketball, one thing I've always noticed, and even just you can just watch the NBA and pick it up. Matchups is everything. It's all about matchups, and every single night it's going to be different matchups, and you're going to have different players that match up differently with different teams around the league. So just like how Gerald said, don't be stuck to your ways. Don't get married to one lineup. And I think also even as fans, we can't get married to one lineup of okay, this is the starting lineup. Okay, I think every game it's kind of a situational thing. But I do want to kind of go back to a point where we're talking about like, well, we don't know if Cam and them are the answer. Like, I don't even think D'Lo and AR are the answer to what we want, because I'm looking at number 8, raising banner number 18. I don't think none of that is the answer to what we want. But it's like I said earlier in the show. It's like, but what are we gonna do? We're not gonna go out and just get Anthony Edwards. You know what I'm saying? We got to stick with what we have, and what we got is this right here. And just like how Gerald said, we just need to find this mixture of some good defense to where, if we do have a D'Lo out there to play make, or we do have an Austin Reeves out there to go just score and get us some buckets, we can tuck him on defense. We can hide him on defense. Like maybe putting the Cam next to him, maybe putting the Vando next to him. But Darvin Ham can't just say, oh, well, I'm a defensive-minded coach, and we're going to go ahead and run with a lineup of Jared Vanderbilt, Torian Prince, Rui, LeBron, and AD. It's just like you're just relying too much on LeBron James scoring. Doobie said, I disagree with that. Different starting lineups every game. I mean, you got to look at it, Doobie. I mean, every single team has, every team in the league plays differently. Every team in the league has different starting lineups. So we can't just stick with one team. Like,
it's not like Boston where you have 5 set players that can switch so much for them.
Literally everything. Yeah, we don't have that starting lineup. The Boston Celtics, they can have a set lineup. You know why? Because exactly like Gerald said, they can genuinely switch 1 through 5. Everyone out there.
And they're one of only 2 teams who can do that. Only Boston, Denver can really do that.
Exactly.
Philly can flirt with it at times, but they're not good at it when they do it continuously. You could say the same thing about OKC right now, but I think given the youth there, that's merely a matter of time. But yeah, John, there's only 2 teams that could play that kind of defense right now.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying, to where like we have to be able to be versatile. And I think the biggest issue right now is we got a guy on the sideline that what we like to do over here is the Mr. Warm Hands, Darvin Warm Hands Ham, and he's not versatile. He doesn't make the switches that we need, and he's like, oh wow, this worked against the Detroit Pistons. Okay, let's go ahead and try it against the Boston Celtics. It's like these are 2 different teams. And as a coach, you need to be able to figure that out. And unfortunately, we don't have the right coach to figure that out.
Well, let me ask you this, Doobie, and let's get back to Z, because I know Z has your thoughts. Z, Doobie wants to run the playoff lineup again. We haven't run that because of Vando's injury much this season. Is that a good option for the team at this time?
I think they should, because as we know, they only played like 1 minute together. 1 minute, the entire time that Vando was back. But I'm more actually concerned about the rotation. I said this earlier with Sean, that I'm more concerned about Ham's rotation after the starting lineup versus the starting lineup itself. Because before this change up, according to the stats, D'Lo, Prince, AD, Cam, and LeBron has a defensive rating of 108. That's good. That's good, because what we figured out during this season is that you need a balance of shooting, which is the 2 guards, and I consider Prince as a guard. He's not a wing. He plays like a guard. He's more of an off-ball shooter and plays more standstill. He doesn't play like a wing. That's what I'm saying. So those 2, and then a combination of either Cam or Vando, then LeBron and AD. That's the formula for this, to balance out the offense and the defense. Because D'Lo and Austin are great as an off-ball guards. That's why that starting lineup with Vando worked in the playoffs. They're not being targeted because Vando is on the point of attack. Austin is very good. He's very good as a screen navigator. So he's on the shooter all the time. Then D'Lo is on the I think it's more of a non-offensive player or something. That's how it works with them, and that's how you should work it out. But I think on Ham's mind, Prince is stuck on that starting lineup. In my opinion, that's what I'm seeing, that he's in love with Prince, just like he was in love with Dennis. But at least Dennis is a guard. He's on the point of attack. This time, you can't have that because Prince is not a good screen navigator. He's okay with point of attack, but mostly it's like forcing the player to go inside to AD than really defending it. If you get what I mean, it's more like a team defender than a point of attack defender. So I think he's stuck with it. So for me, I think the Austin, Prince, Cam, or Vando, Braun, and AD will work, same as it will work if it's Vando, D'Lo, Prince, LeBron, AD. It will work too because it's just about balance, and that's why when I saw the starting lineup today, it was Rui, Braun, and AD, then Vando as your point of attack defender, Prince on the other guard, then Rui, LeBron, and AD can switch. And they didn't do that on the first quarter. They did that on the third quarter, and they wreaked havoc because that's how you do it. You need the style of play of each player should fit. The scheme should fit the style of the player. If that's what I'm saying, it needs to fit. It needs to fit. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. And it's the same thing with Wood. I think that actually, based on what I've seen on Wood, he's not even last year in Dallas. I was watching the games. He is much better when there's a center with him. He's much better with a center with him on defense because he's more on a hedge defender than just on drop, just a lone center. So he works well with Rui and LeBron or with Hayes, him, AD, Wood. Those things work. And we know this because the data, if you show the two-man lineup, three-man lineup, 4 and 5, it shows you that it worked. But Ham is in love with some of the lineups that doesn't, and that's the Prince, D'Lo, and Austin. He used that again in the first quarter. Finally, he didn't on the third, and they went on a run. I think it's more about balancing this and using the data that shows you that, coach, this doesn't work. Why are we still using this? This doesn't work no matter what you do, no matter what lineup this is. If these three guys are in here, it's not going to work because the data shows it. And if it's true that Ham is following analytics, the analytics is saying otherwise. So why are he doing it? I'm just confused by all of this because all I'm calling out is before our only problem is one player. Oh, D'Lo cannot be here, so we need to change that. But now it's the entire thing, aside from AD and LeBron. So there's something wrong here that they need to fix as a team. Otherwise, we're just gonna see it for the whole season if they don't make a trade.
Yeah. Sorry about the whoa. I'm not gonna lie. I read Kenny B. Williams' comments in the chat, and he said we can't beat Nuggets, Mavericks, Clippers, or Wolves in a 7-game series. I'm not gonna lie. We don't got to necessarily get into this. I know this isn't a Timberwolves episode, podcast or show, but the Timberwolves are not real come playoffs. The playoffs and regular season are two totally different things. So that's one reason why I said whoa. But great point, Z. I absolutely agree with everything you said. And some people in the chat were giving you some love, saying you should coach.
John, you're on mute.
Before we head on out, we haven't really done a roundtable in the NBA landscape drilled outside of the Lakers. Tonight, the Detroit Pistons were up by as much as 21 points on the best team in the NBA drill, and they watched it slip through their fingers. They clutched defeat from the jaws of victory tonight and set an inexplicable, disastrous record for Detroit basketball, Gerald, losing their 28th straight game. If they lose on December 31st in Toronto, Gerald, to the Toronto Raptors, they will be the record holder, 29-game losing streak. What's your opinion about what you're seeing in Detroit, Gerald?
It's a mess. And you've paid how much to Monty Williams? He's the highest paid coach in the NBA. So you've got the highest paid coach in the NBA coaching the absolute worst team possibly, right up there as possibly in the history of this league. And you know what, Magic, like you said, Toronto better not be the team that actually loses. You should actually go to the game just so in case that Toronto does lose. You can
I have a friend who's like, I'm dealing with some personal stuff right now. He's begging me to go to the game because every game we've gone to 3 together. 2 have been against Detroit. We've won. So he's like, they're begging me to go to this game.
They're going to show this guy in a Lakers outfit, just like laughing hysterically right there in the corner.
Gerald, I just have this sneaking
Hey,
suspicion.
that looks like Sean.
Yeah, I'm not gonna walk go to the dog park on
Sean,
January 1st. That's for damn sure. What's
Go ahead,
up,
Z?
Z?
do you want me to comment on Monty's coaching?
Sure, please do, because it's been absolutely
It was funny because they're doing well lately, right? Than before. It was because Monty was so stuck on opening the mid-range game for his players than attacking the paint. I'm just confused. Why are they not? They're a young team. If you're a young team with those legs and athleticism that they have, you should first start with attacking the paint, then opening it up. But since the Suns, it was the same thing because they're just opening up that mid-range, and that's not the game of their players. And that's what I'm saying. And also, he started the season with Jaden Ivey on the bench. What? He's your lone shooter, man. He's the only shooter on the team. I was laughing at it, but he benched him. And now, if you saw the stats, Jaden, Ivy, Duran, and Cam together actually has a positive net rating because their games work together. Unfortunately, Monty didn't start the season with it, and he just changed it because I think someone from the upper management told him that you cannot do this, man. You cannot do this. But that's what I'm seeing on Monty's coaching. It was weird because they have a lot of athleticism on that team, and they're not using it.
They are not. And look, I want people to understand something. It is really hard to lose 28 straight games in an 82-game season. That is very difficult to do, especially with the pace of play and the fact that outside of 15 elite to very great players, the level of talent is almost equal at a certain given point. And
plus, you figured it, they would have at some point in time, just like San Antonio did, they would run into a team like the Lakers. We had players out of the lineup or something like that, or a team that had injuries or something out of the lineup to the point where you were just going to go ahead and catch them on an off night like San Antonio did when they broke that 18-game losing streak against the Lakers, but yet they've not been able to find that. And I think that comes down to the coach as well. I think Monty Williams, I've liked what he's done as far as his coaching jobs in the past, and I'm just very disappointed by what I see. And I don't want to be too hard on the guy because he's probably already heard quite a bit of it in Detroit. But yeah, they've just in 28 games, you've not been able to find enough as a NBA team to pull out one win. It's truly unbelievable, Magic.
It is, Gerald. Hard to believe, but here we are. And to Joe's credit, earlier in the podcast, Joe Soro was surmising that he didn't think that the Charlotte Hornets were all that much more less putrid than the Detroit Pistons. And to Joe's credit, if you look at the point differential, only a little bit more than half a point separates Charlotte and Detroit from 7 wins to 2 wins. That's how abysmal the Eastern Conference has been thus far, Gerald. And adding on to that, Gerald, the Miami Heat took care of business tonight against the Golden State Warriors. And in the Pacific Division, the Warriors and the Suns right now can't seem to find any traction whatsoever. They'll look good for a week, look okay for another week, and then just look absolutely lost for another week. What do you make of what's going on in
Golden State, and also as well what you've got with Phoenix? Those two teams. Go ahead, Magic. Yeah, I think you got Z. Okay, there she is. So yeah, just when it comes right down to it, Magic, when you've got a team that's like the Lakers, they're reflective. We're all 500 teams. We're all playing like it. We all have our deficiencies that's been pointed out and exploited by other teams. Yet at times we look like we can be world beaters. Golden State last week, they were on a 5-game winning streak and looked like they were going to be able to get back in the thick of things, and just went off the rails. And then same thing with Phoenix. Phoenix, though, gets Bradley Beal back. Will that make them a better team? We'll have to find out. Yeah, it's just very disappointing from what we've seen from all three of these teams so far. But that's good for the Lakers, because if they continue to struggle, then maybe that'll give the Lakers a chance to go ahead and move up in the Western Conference standings. Again, this weekend's going to be a big test. If they can finish out the weekend 2-0, heading into 2024, who knows? Who knows what you can take with that kind of momentum?
Who knows, Gerald, indeed, especially with a team like the New Orleans Pelicans that you're fighting for positioning here having a 2-game lead on them in a season series would bode well for trying to get into the top 6. And finally, at the end of the night, Z, I'll leave the final comments for you. Nikola Jokic made history again tonight, Z. It's his 3rd triple-double where he shot 100% from the field, 100% from the free throw line. Only Nikola Jokic and Wilt Chamberlain have done that, Z, and they've both done it 3 times now. Even without Ja, Denver showed why they're still an elite team, and it's because of the Joker.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic is really good. When you're a playmaker and you're that tall, that's your best player on the team. Because playmakers are hard to find, especially, it's kind of weird because people were saying that centers are gone because of the Warriors era, but it really wasn't. It was just that at that time there wasn't much skilled bigs, but now the skills are on the bigs, like Embiid, AD, Jokic, Cap.
That's so true, Z. It used to be that traditionally you kind of built your team like a triangle. You had your center at the top, you had your fast guard, and then you had your corner man. It's almost as if, because of the revolution of the 3-point shot, Z, you've basically combined a corner man with a center. And that's what we're seeing with Chet Holmgren and Wemby and Jokic.
Yeah, but Jokic is different because he's the prototypical big. He's slow, and you're gonna win against him if you have a I don't know, a wing attacker that is also a playmaker. You can do that, but I actually watched this interview earlier with Jokic about the 2020 Lakers, and that's the reason why they got Aaron Gordon, because he saw that that was a team that he has having a lot of difficulty going out. So he said, "Okay, give me a big hair with me so that we can play together." And at the same time, I think Jokic he just honed that post up offense so much that he's like Shaq. Shaq was just dunking on people, but Jokic is like those flip shots, hook shots, floaters. He's so good at it. That's why I was so confused by, for example, D'Angelo's game. Where's your floater, man? Where is it? And those are skills that are so hard to come by, and you're not using it. You're supposed. It's a drop. It's a drop. I call that a drop breaker. It's like a drop breaker because if you have a drop big and you have a floater, you're just gonna do it. For Rui, for example, he's a zone breaker because if you're on a zone, he's just gonna go to the mid range and shoot it. That's how you do it in today's game. So for me, Jokic is like this. He's like a wing. Yeah, that's maybe he got his game from Wilt, and that's why. But they're good at it, right, Sean? Those Balkan guys, they're really good at it. They're good at producing big, offensive, and playmaking centers. Look at it. Jokic, then now Schengen. They're really good at producing those because they know that playmaking at that center position is so vital. If you're there,
100% Z.
right? That's how they play.
Definitely. You have Sabonis in Sacramento, and then you have Jakob Poeltl in Toronto. The number of centers that have become playmakers all of a sudden in the NBA is both very, very pleasantly surprising, as Z has said, because everybody had thrown the baby out with the bathwater, the center out with the revolutionary 3-point shooting. But I mean, the center position is integral as ever. Gerald, did you have anything to add to that?
No, Z pointed out very eloquently. I think I agree with her assessment on that, and it's just getting to the point where.
But I have, Sean. I have, because I was watching these American players.
I just wanted to say that right now it's going to be so interesting the way Joel Embiid is playing. Who is going to win that MVP between him and Jokic? Because once again, it looks like those two are the dominant forces playing at such a high level right now, and it's great to see. It's absolutely great to see.
Yeah, definitely. But my comment is, I was watching this Americans are always about athleticism, right? And not strength. It's more about how fast you can go. But if you look at it, I think, but if you look at it, aside from LeBron, there's no one. There's no one. And playmaking is the hardest of all talents. It's a skill that is so hard because you need to pass that ball on time, on target, and on the pocket of your teammate So you need to have a high IQ for that to happen. But all I'm saying is this Harden-like playmakers. That's a lot of dribbling, a lot of. It was so bad. I was looking at it. Was why can't you pass it? Why are you dribbling so much? I think Harden, his game was so it was like good on TV
Mm-hmm.
to look at, that a lot of players were like, oh, I'm gonna copy that, but it wasn't. Harden is also a playmaker. You don't have that talent. Why is it? You're just dribbling
Exactly.
around, but you can't pass it. No, I'm just serious that you need, in order for you to be a really good player, you need to have a high IQ and you need to pass that ball. And what I'm saying is that there's a lot of Americans that that's the last thing that they want to pass. It's all about shooting, shooting, shooting. When the hardest of all skills is passing and playmaking.
Absolutely, Z. Couldn't agree more. And this was a great show. Want to thank everybody for tuning in. Gerald, live from Burbank, California, from Universal Studios. Hopefully, you had a wonderful time, Gerald.
I did a lot of walking, and just just really cool to be there. Hopefully I'll be able to go back because it's always great fun going there. A big shout out to John Costa from Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner. Please give him a big shout out, big subscribe if you can for his great channels. And of course, Joe Soro, who was on earlier live from New York. It was Saturday Night Joe.
It was Saturday Night Joe. And Joe, thank you for.
I like the fact I like low key Joe because he was had to be on his best behavior because he's sharing the same hotel room with the girls and whatnot. So you couldn't.
Yes, and I think they asked him to leave the room because there was a distinct echo in the second half of his appearance that I think he was speaking in the hallway of the whatever floor he was
low
on.
Joe. It was Joe. Low target. Yes, Sean.
You hear the echo, Joe. Yes. We could hear it.
There was no ranting, no raving, no screaming, no cursing. It was just, Sean, this is my thoughts. There you go. That's absolutely. It's like all just having like a normal conversation. It's like almost weird. I'm like, am I in the right playback.tv channel? I think, because Joe was calm, cool, and collected throughout the entire show with you as far as the game is concerned. Now, mind you, the Lakers helped with a big blowout win, but yeah, he just
he wouldn't have had the
it's not the same Joe I'm used to.
No, it's not. He wouldn't have had the same motivation, I think, Gerald, to scream at the top of his lungs in a hotel with other guests around. It's all right when he's around us and family. But good for Joe for keeping it together, and thank you for coming on. And Z, thank you for joining me on the pregame.
Yeah,
and
thank you guys.
And playback. The Rockstar Z, thank you very much. Everybody, Lakers win 133-112, 17 and 15. We're on for a mini 2-game road trip.
8th place. We hopped up a spot.
We'll see you on Saturday, everybody. Later.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys.
Go Lakers.
Go Lakers.